Hello everybody, I am Sonia Lopez. I am a student of the course Materials Design, and in this video we are going to check for tips for listening and speaking in ESL classes. This is special for teachers, but not just from English. You could find this useful in other languages. The general idea of this video is that we are going to cover some tips to develop the classes for listening and speaking for teachers. So teachers can take into account these tips in order to develop them the best way, the lessons, and for the learners to understand and to comprehend, also to learn how to develop these skills for themselves, not just in the classroom. So, at the end, the teaching learning process will be successful for both learners and teachers. Let's go over some objectives about the video. So, the first one is sensitizing the importance to focus on the development of listening and speaking abilities in the second language. We know that these both skills are difficult for the learners, so they could find how to develop these skills, also the teachers. The second is comprehending that the listening skill must have its study space and time for the learners to work out autonomously. So here the students can learn how to develop these skills by themselves outside the classroom, and the teacher can also be aware that they can repeat many activities, for example, if they are not sure. And the last one, enhances that the speaking skill has not only to do with psycholinguistic but also with the affective emotional factor. So it is not just about the pronunciation, the fluency, but also we have involved more things than this. That's why they feel sometimes embarrassed. So, going over the listening materials first, we are going to see some performances that we should take into account when applying these activities. So, according to Roast in 2011, but also previously that year we have Brown, they suggested 6 kind of listening. First of all, we have the intensive one. In this, the material focuses on phonology, syntax, words, sounds, and grammatical. And then we have the selective. Selective is scanning the general idea, but in order to gather certain information. So specific information, selective is information. For example, people's names, phone numbers, dates, certain facts of events or situations. The number 3, we have interactive listening. This refers to a conversation. We have some listeners and some speakers. So the message provides some information and the speaker gives some feedback. The number 4 is the extensive listening. In this case, we have to take into account all the listening audio. For example, a movie, a song, a podcast, a radio. So we have to understand all the idea. Then we have the responsive. This is something that you will have immediately. For example, in the classroom, the teacher can ask questions, can check for comprehension or seek for some clarification. So in this case, the listening is applying and the student is giving a response immediately. So that is responsive. And the last one is the autonomous listening. This is in order to make the listener, the student, the learner independent. So they can make the monitoring by themselves. And in this case, the teacher is not there. We don't have a monitoring person. So take into account that this depends on the level of the group, the learner's need, and the purpose of the class. So we have two kind of activities. We have or scenarios. We have the face-to-face environment. So we are going to check some teams to take into account in these classes. Some of them you can apply them on online environments as well. So the first one is the repetition. So remember to repeat the audio material from 2 times to 3. And if the audio is too difficult or the level is very advanced, you can play again from 4 to 5 times. So that depends on the class again. So this always depends on the class. Then we have the standards suggested by the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Language. The suggestions that they have is that the audio materials, the listening materials should have communication, should have cultures, transmit culture, connections, comparisons, and communities. So you can check about this on internet or in the library that you want about these standards. Then we have the bottom up and the top down processing, and in this case you can apply them according to the level, but it's very important that you could apply this always. So we have the bottom up is this is used to recognize the details of the message, the very details, and the top down is used to understand the general idea. So here you can find a lot of useful knowledge. Then I recommend you to leave homework. In the homework they can work outside the classroom, and you could leave a small homework so they will not depend just on the class. They have to develop their study habits outside. And after that, we recommend to focus on improving the comprehension more than the testing it, because also this depends on the level of the student. So the idea is that we can see the progress. We have some online tips that you can also apply in the face-to-face, but some of them are more useful on the online. So the best tools that you could have, for example, the microphone. Check the microphone. This is very important that you could share these audio materials or listening materials. If you can share the link, if possible, for them to listen to that better, go ahead. If not, again, check the microphone, because this is very important. You must be interactive. So in online classes, the collaborative conversations are very useful because they can work on confidence and they can also work on speaking. So speaking and listening is, as we said, on the responsive listening previously, or the interactive listening as well. Use authentic materials. The authentic materials are crucial for this part. You can also use non-authentic materials in order to focus on the real task. This is useful in the beginners levels, but in the intermediates and advanced is very useful because the students can understand the real language, in this case English, the real language outside the classroom, how it works. So again, repeat the listening as much as the time allows you, because sometimes in online the time flies more than the face-to-face. And finally, paraphrase. Paraphrase the listening materials, because sometimes they cannot understand very well because of the microphone as well. And you can change the words to make it. Then we have the speaking materials. So in face-to-face environments, we are going to check 5 tips as well. So remember, the speaking skill is a complex mental process. So this is not something that you will acquire easily. Okay, so take advantage of the space that you have, and if you can take them outside the classroom, for example, to restaurants, gyms, museums, content, different scenarios where they can check the real language. Also, in the class, you have to apply in the speaking part the conceptualization, the formulation, the articulation, and help them to develop the self-monitor, so they will not always depend on the teacher. Also, we can check that you can use the scaffolding progression. So in this case, you can start with a scripted dialogues, and then semi-scripted ones. And after that, they will not need a script, so they can develop by themselves the repetition that they have done, so they can feel comfortable. Also, we have to upgrade the language, so take into account the words that you are using when you talk to a beginner, because a beginner is different than an advanced person. A beginner, you must talk slowly, with basic words, repetition a lot, and in the advanced levels you can change the words, you can make them practice advanced sentences that they have learned before, and you can use a faster speed. Use the task repetition, so this is similar to the scaffolding progression, the number 3, because you can repeat and repeat the same task, the same dialogue, the same activity for them to take it better. Be careful of the motivation, because if they see that you are repeating this a lot, probably they will feel not motivated. And then let's check the online environment. So in the online environment, the speaking, we recommend you to use a lot of stimulus, because this will help them, and this will help you to transmit the knowledge in the class, the objective. So use videos, podcasts, reading, text, pictures, images. Images is very useful. Work with the concrete personal and the abstract general. So this means that this also works as a nice break. So you can ask for a topic about their personal experience. And after that, you can go from specific to general. So at the end, you can ask from the general research, or what the news have said about this topic, and so on, so they can feel involved in the topic. Then we have to check all the technological tools that you could use. Nowadays you can find a lot of this, so you can use a lot of dynamic activities. Use the camera, use the body language. This is very useful for them. Also, then we have the patient. Be patient with them, because they have to think, and they want to practice and to apply some words and some sentences and some grammar that they have learned before, but they see the space to apply them. So be patient. Remind to give them time to think, and be careful with the amount of time, not too much. Use the screen as support, as we said before. Use icons. Images are very important. The example we have here in this video can help them a lot. So thank you very much for watching this video. We leave you here some conclusions that these are useful for you. You can stop the video and check them and have a read. We have 4 references where we could find some of this information covered before. So thank you very much. My name is Sonia Lopez, and see you the next time. Bye bye.